Good morning, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Health Discourse with Sakshi and Sushant. Hi, Sushant. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, Sushant, I think I would like to ask you a few questions before we begin this discussion. So, have you ever gone to a dentist in your life?
Yeah, I have when I was somewhere around 10, 11 years old.
Okay, and it might be cavities, if I'm not wrong, cavities or maybe a bad tooth.
Yeah, it was sort of cavities and only thing which attracted me was a
Candies.
post-treatment ice cream which
Oh, ice
my
cream. Yeah,
father
yeah.
promised. Yeah, yeah. So
Okay,
I haven't
okay.
gone to any dentist, so that's why that's a clear indication of a better health at the age of 44, right? So
Okay, so folks, most of you must have seen that there are very common procedures in dentistry these days, which is a root canal procedure. You might have found them very common for problems like, a tooth which is decayed, for cavities, and for, many other issues. Yeah. So, Sushant, I think let us decode that because, there have been a research which quotes that a lot of things which could lead to oral cancer, and one of them is a root canal procedure. So, could you shed some light on how this onset could occur?
okay, so we have to understand two concepts here. So I'll just answer about what the market for root canal and the why it is done and and the connection of teeth with the entire body organs, right? And also I'll also discuss about how root canal could be an independent risk factor for cancer, right? So if you see in India, around 15 million people go for RCTs, right? Root canal treatment every year, right? Which is again, 41,000 RCTs happens daily, right? And it's a way of eliminating the infection, removing the infected pulp, right? And removing the nerve root of the teeth, right? So that we don't have to remove the teeth. So to prevent the teeth from discontamination and so that's a normal process. And there's something some people also get these caps done, right? For the protection, right? So essentially, this is what I have seen. I have researched and I have found in a lot of our patients also that uh, you know anyone who has a chronic disease, including metabolic disease, have dental infections, and most of them are asymptomatic, right? We can tell because we measure the function of the oral microbiome, so we can tell the level of dental infection, which is generally asymptomatic at an early stage, right? So, so essentially, let us go on talk on a very very different tangent today, right? And in terms of the human body, right? Human body is so people who have studied science, right? I'm not a science graduate, so probably I'll keep it in very layman language. But we have studied about electric potential. We studied about voltage, currents, right? That's a normal. I think we have studied in physics, right? So that's for science people would be able to resonate that, right? But our body is an electric system. It is an electric organ, right? So there's a flow of electrons. Nitric oxide is an electron donor, right? So we discussed this during our nitric oxide webinar also, that the flow of electrons, flow of voltage and current to different organ tissues and cells, right? Which enable them to function, to perform various cellular processes, to keep our body in homeostasis, right? And to keep our body in a balanced situation, right? If there is lack of flow of voltage and current, right? Our cells, organ, and tissues cannot function. They become energy deficient, and this is the basis of chronic disease, right? So, how does the tooth comes into picture, right? 5,000 years ago, and this is in uh, ancient Chinese study about energy medicine that, each of the tooth is linked to specific organs inside a body. There's an energy meridian through which the energy flows, right? Different body organs, right? And through individual tooth to different body organs, right? So essentially, there's an energy meridian, and again, teeth. Your teeth are called circuit breakers, right? So there is a control of the flow of electricity and voltage, right? And again, if your tooth is not working, right, or is the tooth is dysfunctional, there's there's a halt of the flow of this voltage.
So when you say dysfunctional or not working of a tooth, it means if it is not there,
Yeah,
if there
it's
has
not
been a
there.
procedure and it
It's
has been
not there.
removed.
Yeah, it's not there, or
Okay.
maybe that's where the root canal comes into picture, right? So probably let me explain this first, right? So there is no flow of electricity. These organs cannot function, right? And they become dysfunctional, right? So when they become dysfunctional, your cell loses your cellular potential across the membrane, cell membrane. So there is what we call transmembrane potential, right? So we need to maintain a transmembrane potential of minus 25 millivolts, right? Which maintains a pH of 7.4 inside our body. So pH is something which control the voltage of a cell, right? So that maintains the cellular potential, right? So essentially, when we are doing root canals, we are removing this, you know, uh, nerve root of the tooth, right? And again, the tooth become dead. There is lack of stop of supply of flow of blood, right? And oxygen, right? So essentially, blood flow also stops down. So this energy circuit breaker comes to an halt, right? It trips down, right? And again, when it sits down, there is no flow of voltage, right? To the specific organs which are linked to that particular tooth, right? The energy meridian, which I mentioned, right? So those organs cannot function. The cell loses cellular potential. When cell loses cellular potential, right, it changes the cellular potential from minus 25 to up to 30 milliwatts, right, or 40 milliwatts, right, and again 30 milliwatts. So this is what this when there's a change in this transmembrane potential or cellular potential, mitochondrial is not efficient to produce energy, right? And again, this, so we know we have these soft tissues which are connecting with various cells and, inside our body, and this through which the communication electricity flows, right? So our body is electric organ, and we actually uh, need to have this voltage. So essentially, when your mitochondria cannot efficiently produce energy, your cells resort to fermentation, lactate fermentation for energy. And we discussed during our fermentation discussion on oral cancer that it's mitochondria which controls the energy, and if the mitochondrial dysfunction is there, so the good cell could also become bust, right? So they could actually even in the event of low oxygen, they could, through glycolysis process, they could extract energy through fermentation. They can grow, and these cells then grow, and then obviously there's the onset and progression of various cancer, not only oral cancer, right? So essentially, uh, you know, uh, so in terms of understanding this, the cancer cells operate in a low oxygen, low voltage, and low pH environment, right? So if there's a root canal treatment being done, which around 8 to 10% of the Indians go for root canal every year, right? So there is a stoppage of the flow of voltage or current to different cells. Cells become dysfunctional, mitochondria become dysfunction, right? It creates a low pH. So again, if there's low voltage, it leads to low pH. So it maintains so minus 25 of millivolts of voltage maintains 7.4 pH, which is a normal pH required for physiology of human body. Right? When it changes to plus 30 MV, right, which leads to low pH level, and it creates environment for cell to proliferate and grow, cancer cells to proliferate and grow, right? So again, fermentation happens, and they start to grow. So that is one aspect. So cellular potential is really, really important, right? So again, so That's what I'm saying. So in terms of people who are going for RCTs because there is something going on inside the mouth, there is a tooth decay, there is a cavity, there are a number of infections happening inside the mouth, right? And again, it is linked to your oral microbiome, right? Or maybe you're smoking or smoking tobacco products, a lot of these things, right? So essentially, we are not focusing on these. We are not focusing on these are asymptomatic, right? So these doesn't come at an early stage. You will only get to know at a late stage, right? Essentially, most of the people who are at the stage of onset of cancer have dental infections, have cavities, right? And they are not aware of it, right? So that is one aspect of it, right? Other is the role of nitric oxide. Again, nitric oxide, we know that one nitrogen and oxygen is in it's an electron donor, so it's an antioxidant, right? So essentially, uh, so if you have probably low voltage, probably you have a chronic health condition, probably nitric oxide have a role to play in regulating the cellular processes, right? We have discussed this in detail, so I'm not going to discuss too much nitric oxide, but again, electron can flow even if nitric oxide donates an electron. Electron can flow only when there is this right cellular potential. If there's no cellular potential, electron can flow, even nitric oxide cannot stay, right? So essentially, you need to understand why you have low voltage, right? So in terms of cancer, we are going for chemotherapy, immunotherapy, surgeries, and a lot of these things, right? Until unless we do not know what is causing this low voltage, low pH, low oxygen level, right? We can't address cancerous situations, right? So this is one of the basic aspects, right? You have to change how we look review of human body. RCTs are really, really ruthless. You should not go. Apart from the pain you have while going through RCTs, right? It's really, really ruthless. Right? It is going to increase your risk for various chronic diseases and cancer.
That's really interesting because no one would have ever thought that this procedures like root canal treatments they could be they could actually lead to such problems going forward. Because earlier, in dentistry, I mean, also as children, we were also told that should your dental habits, if you don't follow them properly, your dental hygiene, it would lead to cavities. But at the end of the day, this is the only solution that they have in terms of preventing, not preventing, it's like the aftermath of a certain damage that has happened to the body, right?
Yeah, so I'll tell you basically, it's an old science that your tooth is linked to various body parts. There's an energy meridian through which energy flows from and tooth is a
There are
circuit breaker.
nerves, there are nerves, there's a bundle of
It
nerves which is
it
going from
it
here to
flows. Yeah, it
other.
flows, and again, if you
And that
if
is
you're
that is scientific in nature. It's not just energy medicine. Even the medical sciences now, there are researchers which are showing this thing,
Hmm.
and there are some researches which have been
Yeah.
scientific in nature. So it's not just the energy medicine which claims that. So yes,
Mm.
I mean, they are connected with all the organs, most of them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Sushant, what should be done? Let's say if somebody has a cavity problem, so what should be done if root canal is something which could cause problems? So what should be the ideal course for a person in that
So
case?
this is what I have told, and we have seen around people are focusing on gut microbiome, have started to recognize the role of microbes, right? Gut microbiome is the most dense, the most diverse is the oral microbiome, and people are not focusing on the oral microbiome, right? So essentially, there are 700 species in the mouth, which translates to maybe 1 to 2 billion of microbial strains. These have have an impact on your oral health, right? And again, have an impact on systematic health because we know that microbes in the mouth uses inorganic nitrate to produce nitric oxide. Again, nitric oxide is virtually linked to every single chronic disease, including type 2 diabetes, chronic kidney disease, cancer, cardiovascular disease, erectile dysfunction, dementia, Alzheimer. Right? I think again, and this is a problem of the way the modern medicine or dentistry works, right? So clinical dentistry is linked to systemic health, and we're not realized. So yesterday I was talking to a dentist here, and they have. So what I have gathered that they have not realized that that the oral issues could stem from your metabolic health issues, right? Everything is connected. So most of the dentists have a view that okay, if it's nothing's happening in the mouth, your dental health is fine, but it doesn't work like that, you know. So people who have who have a high risk of oral cancer already have type 2 diabetes or gum disease or periodontal disease or cardiovascular disease. Right? So essentially, you know, these all are linked, and you don't need to understand the function of the oral microbiome, right? It's really, really important to understand, right? So just by if you go to a dentist and says everything is fine, there's no cavity or there's just a small biofilm formation, it doesn't mean you don't have an oral health issue, because most of the oral health diseases are asymptomatic and hard to detect at early stage, right?
Things like halitosis that we have started to decode. Halitosis is something which one realizes at a later stage. It starts with the bad breath and it
So it's it's not about halitosis as such. What happens is because of halitosis, the interventions what we adopt for halitosis, right? Which is again bad breath, right? So we generally go for mouthwashes, which actually disrupts your oral microbiome. So it's about thing is understanding why we have bad breath. So we do decode pathways. We know it's for these pathways and hydrogen sulfide and methylicaptan and a lot of these ammonia products, which is again a byproduct of we consume a lot of high amount of amino acids, right? Or maybe sulfides, right? So this is something for people who say, you know, eating a lot of protein is beneficial. Probably you don't know what is happening in your mouth. So nobody measures, you know, how it is impacting your oral microbiome, oral health, right? Have you ever seen any of the uh, fitness companies or any of the trainers or coaches or nutritionists even talking about your dental health, right? Because actually it's virtually linked to everything inside your body. So we are missing a huge thing when it comes to your oral health, right? So that is something very, very important, right? Root canal should be avoided. Probably fix your oral microbiome, you know, fix your oral health. You know, do not go for these
I would also
procedures.
recommend one thing, that if you're having early signs of these things like bad breath, symptoms like, little bit of cavities or whatever, and
Hmm.
even if you're experiencing a biofilm formulation or flakes, so that actually means that you're going towards the dental health issues. So that is the time where you should be start to fixing, where you should actually
Yes.
begin,
So few things
right?
which I would recommend is probably, you know, uh, first of all, focus on your nitric oxide production. You know, do not take uh, L-arginine. It is not required, right? Fix your oral health. Do not take mouthwashes. Avoid fluoride-laden toothpaste. Have toothpaste with high in hydroxyapatite. Brush twice a day. You know, floss regularly, right? So these are a few things. Avoid refined carbohydrates, right? Which really changes your mouth oral pH level,
Sugar,
right?
the
Yeah,
biggest thing is sugar
yeah. So
for mouth.
refined carbohydrates mean sugar. Artificial sweeteners avoid, right? So these are few things which you could change. So probably you even do not need a lot of these surgical treatments for your teeth, for your tooth, right? You don't need to remove your nerve root of your tooth. That is really, really bad. So that is something which is important to understand. So again, to sum up, right, the tooth inside our mouth is kind of different organs, right? There's a flow of electricity. Tooth is a circuit breaker. It regulates the electricity flow. If there is no tooth, there are stops the flow of voltage and current and electricity. It makes your cell dysfunctional. It makes your organ dysfunctional. You have chronic disease. You can also have a high risk of cancer because your mitochondria can efficiently produce energy. So cells resort to lactate fermentation for the energy sources, right? And again, that is all linked, and you know pH level is directly into your cellular voltage, right? Cellular potential, right? So that is something which needs to be understood. So I think people who comes from a physics and science background would understand this much better. But I've kept it in a very, very simple language. Right?
So thank you, Sushant. This was a very interesting and insightful discussion for the benefit of everyone and for those who've gone through a lot of dental related issues and who are, having the onset of these dental symptoms. I'm pretty sure they will, they will derive a lot of benefits from this talk, right? And if anyone would like to discuss their dental health issues with us, they can please feel free to go to www.genefitlex.com orahig, where we will be available for a free discovery call if you want to talk about your dental health issues. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sushant.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Yeah.
Bye.